c4 very early, my mistake. And they're playing pretty quickly here. The bishops are lined up. So far the king is defended. This is quite a sharp opening phase. Both have to watch out for the king. This king now is a bit more open because the pawn is on c4 instead of c6. Really got to be careful about these bishops lined up here. So already here, as I see the engine is indicating, white has a big advantage, but it's just so difficult to play in the first moves, Peter.
Yeah, I even would like to go back to the starting position. How did we reach this position? Because this queen on a5, where did this come from? I mean, we didn't talk about this. Yeah, let's take it from move 1.
Alright, so f4, f5, c4, g6, now g4. So here we have this motive, just to point out, maybe a lot of you are wondering, what about this g4 move? Can I not take this? And this is the motive that we're discussing already, which is just beautiful. I want to show it briefly again. White can sacrifice the bishop already on the 4th move, then bring the queen out, and this is game over already. If the king goes to a6, this is checkmate on b5, and if the king goes to c6, which is the only other move, then queen b5, king d6, queen c5 check using the bishop here on g1, and the king is just being chased along the board. And now, for example, you could collect this bishop on g8, hit the knight, hit the bishop, threaten bishop d4, it's all completely over. So, since this motive was also in the games yesterday with sides reversed, so it happened on the king side, the players all knew about it. Peter also mentioned it. They discussed it at night as well, and that's why Firouzja went c6 to stop this bishop sacrifice, also open a queen. Now, Aronian takes, the knight comes out, makes a lot of sense to hit the pawn immediately on f5, and the queen came out to a5, and this is the first time that Aronian is taking a think here. There are different options. d4 is suggested by the computer to grab some more space, but I think here is the first time that Aronian will really take his time to decide what to do next, because it is really not obvious to me, at least. Tanya.
And as Levon takes a think at this moment, a good time to pause with the players, because you really want to see how you want to continue your development. You want to move pawns in a way that they don't come in the way of your own pieces. Levon also has to be careful about certain tricks against his own king on b1 with Firouzja's queen coming out. Let's zoom out for a moment here. Let's bring up our bird's eye view and dive in. Levon finds the way to get the king, to get the rook into the attack. We are seeing some trades happen. Both players playing under a minute. Niklas, what do you make of this position? Is Alireza's king, can that be a target here?
I think in practical terms, if you have such an open king and so little time, this is just so difficult to play with seconds on the clock. If anybody can do it, it is probably Firouzja, but practically Aronian must be the favorite here to win this position against this king. However, now the rooks are getting traded. This is of course big positive news for black, because without the rooks the king feels much safer. So I think rook takes d5 was not the best way forward, and with the rooks off the board I would expect a draw here. Peter?
Yes, on the other hand, the a4 pawn and the d7 pawns are both hanging after the rook trade, rook d1, queen d1. My first instinct was also, okay, wow, it's great news, but knowing Levon, he is always very smart. He has some ideas, and look
b5
at this.
looks strong.
b5, yeah, takes, b5. These are the moves that are so easy to miss, and Alireza with 30 seconds on the clock is clearly super sharp, finding that move. And thanks to this move, he should survive, but queen
e2, queen e2 is there.
Exactly, yeah, putting the pressure.
Doesn't find it.
Wow.
It was a tricky move, and maybe we can just show that idea really quickly. Queen e2, if you take the pawn, then the queen comes in with a check and picks up the pawn. Instead, Levon keeping more pawns on the board, pushes the pawn. It can be picked up, but at the cost of the d7 pawn falling. It looks like it's closer to a draw.
Yeah, then it's a draw. By the way, we have seen the game between Abdusattorov and Vincent Keymer has just ended. Probably it was a draw. Vincent was pressing and he was shaking his head. He was definitely not happy that Abdusattorov, and there is the handshake. There is nothing to play for. What a missed opportunity, this queen e2, this queen endgame. I wanted to highlight during I have done so much commentary, and Magnus was always the one who was making the most out of these queen endgames. Yeah, with queen e2, asking question, because c takes b5 is a big threat. After b takes c4, queen takes c4 is a check, and the pawn on a4 is falling. So black probably has to rely on the very fast counterplay with the d pawn. And of course, the queen endgames are crazy, but white should have winning chances.
Oh, quite a big miss, and it comes down to having those seconds on the clock as well. And queen e2 is an easy move to miss for the players, and instead we saw